Cool. All right, I think we still have some people strolling in, but we got a lot of material to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Mike Raggo, and I work for VeriSign as a security consultant, and I'm also a member of their incident response and forensics team. Some of you may be wondering why I'm presenting on Steganography, as to that's not really one of VeriSign's core competencies. It's been some personal research of mine over the last couple of years. Prior to 9/11, I was doing a lot of research in this area and happened to get caught in New York City on 9/11 on 33rd Street teaching a class, and had the unfortunate mishap of seeing a lot of the chaos. I think that was kind of a motivating factor for me to do more research in this area, because of a lot of the rumors of Al-Qaeda and bin Laden supposedly using steganography for hiding messages for their terrorist cells. Just a couple other things before we get started. I have updated the presentation, so we'll be slightly different than what you see in the book. That presentation has been given to Eli, who will post it out on the Black Hat site. So following the presentation, you'll be able to upload or download the latest version of the slides. Nothing major, just some typos and some different screen captures of the latest version of my program. All right, so we'll go through a brief history of steganography. I think everyone here is fairly familiar with steganography. I think since 9/11, it's gotten a lot more press, and therefore people are somewhat familiar at the very least as to what it does, and I think probably a lot of us here have probably played around with the tools as well. But nonetheless, we'll go through that in a little bit of detail. We're going to focus a little bit more on Steganalysis and Cryptanalysis, and then also some forensic and anti-forensic techniques using steganography. All right, so steganography, from the Greek word steganos, meaning covered, and the Greek word graphy, meaning writing. Steganography is the process of hiding a secret message within an ordinary message and extracting it at its destination. But one important thing to note is anyone else viewing the message will hopefully fail to identify that there's anything hidden within the message or the graphic or the sound file. Steganography has been around for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. Okay. The Greeks, during the warning of an invasion, they would scroll certain messages within a wooden tablet and cover it with wax, such that other people walking by, these people carrying these messages, would not identify that there was a hidden message on the tablet. Also during World War II, there was a lot of different types of invisible inks, including vinegar, milk, fruit juice, and even urine, okay, which darkened when heated. And I'm sure when we're all growing up, when we were traveling, our parents bought some of those books where you'd have the highlighter answer the questions, okay? And it's actually a form of steganography as well, in the form of invisible ink. So, U.S. government is obviously concerned about the use of steganography, not only with 9/11, but many of the other different types of attacks going on around the world. One of the common uses of it is disguising of corporate espionage. There have been articles written about employees who have been able to use steganography to steal various source code and other things from their own company, and it provides a covert mechanism by which they can distribute this software without being caught by their own company. As we stated earlier, also it's been noted in many articles as to Al-Qaeda and other terrorist cells possibly using this to send messages to their other terrorist cells to formulate various types of attacks. And recently I've spoken with some people from DOD and NSA where they've been trying to tackle some child pornography cases where some of these people have actually used steganography for hiding child pornography. So with modern digital steganography, not only do we find that data is hidden within some type of digital file, but we commonly find that it's also encrypted as well, therefore making it infinitely harder to crack these types of files. Many times they use some type of algorithm which can add or modify the contents of the file. Sometimes they may simply append the data to the end of the file or hide it in the message header at the beginning, or they may distribute it throughout the file using some type of least significant bit spread throughout the file. So just some terminology we're going to use throughout the presentation. If I create a hidden message, I want to hide that within a file, commonly called a carrier file. And these carrier files can include BUMP, JPEG, GIF files, as well as WAV, MP3, and a whole slew of other types of digital files. So there's a lot of tools out there. Most of them are shareware or freeware, and some open source tools. Steganos is actually a commercial tool from a company, I believe, over in Germany. Fantastic tool. You can use it for everything from hiding drives to hiding messages within files, various types of encryption techniques. And they also have the ability to use steganography and encryption within self-decrypting files and things of that nature as well. S-Tool's been around for many years. You may have seen other presentations from Eric Cole and other people. S-Tools, I think, has been around since at least 1998. There have been a lot of newer tools that have come out, including Invisible Secret, StegHide, JPHide, and the list goes on and on. If you go out there and do a search, or if you go to some of the common sites such as 2Cows, you'll find just slews and slews of all kinds of steganography tools. There are a couple sites that I've provided here. Unfortunately, recently, a lot of these URLs have been updated. So I've updated these URLs for you. Neil Johnson has a lot of information on steganography, both links to various tools that you can use for not only doing steganography, but also Steganalysis and things of that nature. And topology.org also has some good information on Stego as well. All right, so let's talk about the bulk of this presentation, Steganalysis, or essentially the identification of hidden files. So we need to define Steganalysis, identifying the existence of a message. Okay? But keep in mind, this does not include the extraction of the message itself. Simply identifying steganography, a hidden message within a file. We'll talk later on about cryptanalysis, which is the actual extraction of the message. Okay, so technically, steganography deals with the concealment of a message, not the encryption of it. Steganalysis essentially deals with the detection of hidden content. Okay? So we'll talk about why this is meaningful. So by identifying the existence of a hidden message, perhaps we can identify the tools used to hide it. Okay? If we're just going to identify that there's a hidden message there, what do we really gain from this? But if we can identify what tool was used to hide the message, we may possibly be able to use that same tool to extract it. So common hiding techniques. Typically we find these hidden messages are either appended to the file, hidden within the message header, or some special algorithm is used to disperse the message throughout the picture, the file. So methods of detecting steganography. Okay? We may be able to identify it through visual detection or audible detection if it's a WAV file or an MP3 or something of that nature. Also, there have been some people out there such as Neil Provost who have used statistical analysis for identifying hidden messages within these files. A lot of times this may identify changes within the pixels, either through some type of least significant bit or some other type of analysis, such as histogram. And there's also structural detection, too. Okay? If we have the original file, we can compare it to the steganized file, may determine a difference in size, as far as the date and the time, maybe even the contents, or even through a checksum. So I went ahead and kind of categorized all of these. When we talk about anomaly analysis, this includes things such as a histogram analysis, or a change in the file properties, or even a statistical attack. Okay? And may also include visual or audible detection as well. If we try to detect a pattern that's consistent with the program used, I consider that more of a signature type of analysis. So if we routinely take the same program and hide messages in different types of pictures, we may find a pattern as to how this program hides that message within the file. So really, when I went ahead and created my tool, StegSpy, I really wanted to provide a couple of goals for myself: accuracy, consistency, and most importantly, minimizing false positives. Really wouldn't serve anyone, or wouldn't really be helpful if the tool went ahead and said that possibly something is hidden in this file when in actuality it's not. So if we use visual detection, we may or may not be able to detect that something is hidden within a picture. So I took this picture of Cartman, I went ahead and hid a message in it. But by looking at this, at least from my perspective, I can't see anything visually different between these two pictures. And with a lot of the recent steganography programs, most of them you're not going to be able to tell any kind of visual difference between the pictures, between the original virgin file as well as the carrier file carrying the hidden message. There's also something known as kurtosis, as defined in the Random House Dictionary, the degree of flatness or peakedness of a curve describing a frequency of distribution. So that kind of leads us to something called histogram analysis, where we actually take a look at the frequency of each color making up that picture and determining how frequently each one of those colors shows up. So there's a number of histogram analysis type tools out there. I usually just use Paint Shop Pro for this. Open the file and run a histogram analysis on the file. A normal file will show many inconsistencies, just peaks all over the place, really no identifiable pattern that may identify any type of hidden message content. But if we then compare that to a steganized file, we may find some routine peaks within the histogram analysis. And this was a method proposed by Eric Cole and some other people out there that are really big into steganography. Personally, I don't really buy into it. I've done a lot of steganography analysis, and really I've only found one program where I was able to identify hidden content using histogram analysis. Another type of anomaly analysis is to compare the file properties. If you're out there doing forensic analysis, you may not always have the original file. You just have the steganized file. But if we were to compare these files before and after, or the virgin file versus the carrier file with the hidden message, we can identify things such as difference in date and time, file sizes, or if we run a checksum on it, of course, we'll get different checksums as well. Now, this doesn't always apply to all steganography programs either. For example, if you use Steganos, many times the file that's created is the exact same size as the original file, although the checksum may be slightly different. So, when analyzing these different types of graphic files or MPEG files and things of that nature, you may want to go ahead and determine or get a feel for what type of file am I really looking at. Is this a JPEG file or a bump file or something else? By analyzing, or more importantly, viewing the file, typically there's a header at the beginning that will identify for you what type of file this is. Now, Gary Kessler did a steganography presentation for SANS last fall that was pretty good. And he has a really cool site where he has a lot of these file signatures out there. So you can see he's listed out here for JPEG and GIF and bump files, and the list goes on and on. So if you're going to do this type of analysis, highly recommend this site. It has a really good chart on this site. Okay, so if we have a copy of the original virgin file, it can be compared to the modified suspect or carrier file. Many tools can be used for viewing and comparing the two files. We can use everything from Notepad to some type of a hex editor or something else. One of my personal choices is WinHex, but there's certainly a whole bunch of other different types of hex editor type programs out there. And we can use this to identify inconsistencies between the two files. So reviewing multiple files may identify a signature pattern related to the Steganography program. So helpful analysis programs do include WinHex. It does allow conversions between ASCII and hex. It does allow for a comparison of files. So you can open up two files, run a comparison, and then save the report. And it will identify differences as well as equal bytes between the two files. It does allow you to go ahead and put in markers as to differences within the comparison. And it does allow for string searches too. So I put together a case study of analysis on one of the programs out there for doing steganography called Hiderman. So I went ahead and used this to hide a message within a graphic file. And then after hiding the message, I went ahead and analyzed it using a hex editor. So I view the header information. So as we talked earlier, we can see that this is a bump file, okay, as indicated by the BM at the beginning. And then analyzed the rest of the file and compared it to the original Virgin file. So what I found for this particular program is that it simply appended all the data to the end of the file. This included the password as well as the message being, and the password both being encrypted, and some type of a consistent signature that I found throughout all the messages and files that I hit. So I consistently noticed that the last three characters added to this file were always CDN, which somehow seemed to be related to Hiderman, this particular program that I was using to hide all these messages in all different types of graphic files. So I went ahead and tried all the various types of encryption techniques that Hiderman provides and tried to manipulate it such that maybe I would get a different signature, but it always consistently came up with the same signature. So by hiding different messages within different files with different passwords, I found that the same three characters were appended to the end of the file along with the message. In fact, if you look closely at this, you can even see that some of the password as well as the message are in clear text. Not necessarily all of it, but some of it. So I consider this some type of signature related to Hiderman, that particular steganography program. So this led me to going ahead and creating my own program called StegSpy. And I've gone ahead and used this technique with a lot of different steganography programs, doing file comparisons, seeing if I could identify various types of consistent signatures that are related to how that steganography program hides messages. So my program, StegSpy, allows for signature identification within certain programs or related to certain programs. I currently have a number of signatures within StegSpy. And not only does it identify a signature consistent with the steganography program, but also identifies the location of the hidden message as well. So I had a number of graphics files here, okay, including some that don't include any kind of steganography content, as well as some that do. So some of these have hidden messages within them, and other ones don't. Okay? So here's an example of my program. It allows you to go ahead and choose the file that you want to interrogate to see if there's a hidden message within it. So I run it against this particular picture of Krusty the Clown, and we can see here that it found some type of steganography in it. It identifies it from the Hiderman program and tells you the file location, or the location within the file where this content is hidden. So if I then open this picture of Krusty the Clown, if I open this up within my favorite hex editor, in this case being WinHex, okay, we can see that we have our bump headers at the beginning. And by doing file comparisons, in this case, like I said earlier, we found that this information was appended to the end of the file. And we can see the marker is consistent with my program. Okay? So that if you're doing forensic analysis on this type of stuff, you can go ahead and find the location of the hidden message and use this possibly for extracting the message. So when we get into the cryptanalysis section, we're going to talk more about trying to extract the message. So I have a number of other examples here for you. Okay. This one identified that the masker steganography program was used to hide this message. This particular file had no steganography in it. In this one, JP hide was used to hide the message. Okay, so this program is available for free from my website, spyhunter.com. Currently adding new signatures to this. I have another number of other signatures that I found related to other steganography programs, but I'm kind of validating a lot of that information to minimize false positives. Another feature that I've had people recommend is the ability to use this program to scan an entire directory or maybe even an entire drive. And I'm working on a Linux and Unix friendly version of the program. This was written in Visual Basic. I did originally start writing it in Perl, and then a buddy of mine lent me a copy of Visual Basic, so I started writing in that. I'm going to finish up the Perl version of the program, and then I'll eventually post that to my site as well. So signature-based analysis was used to identify signatures related to many programs, including JPEG-X, Masker, Hiderman, and a whole slew of other programs. And there's information on my website that you can check out on details related to that. So we've identified a signature and possibly the location of the hidden message, but it's still encrypted. So really, what does that buy us? Okay. We may not have the original file to compare it to, especially if we're doing forensic analysis. Although some of the steganography programs out there may remove the original hidden message when you hide it within the picture, but other ones don't. So sometimes they leave the original message behind. So most importantly, the signature allows us to reveal the program that was used to hide the message. So this is where this kind of bleeds into cryptanalysis, okay? The revealing of hidden messages. So in cryptanalysis, as previously stated, okay, in steganography, the goal is to hide the message, not encrypt it. Okay? Cryptography provides the means to encrypt the message. Okay? So how do we go about revealing the hidden message? Well, knowing the steganography program used to hide the message, we can use some common techniques to try to reveal the message. Maybe the password used to hide the message is the same used as the operating system password. And if that's the case, maybe you can use John the Ripper or Loftcrack or LC4 or Crypt or something else to go ahead and reveal the operating system password and then use that password with the steganography program to reveal the hidden message. If we try to attack the algorithm, okay, we may not have a whole lot of luck with this. Okay, some of these programs use 56-bit, 64-bit, sometimes all the way up to 256-bit encryption. Okay? So we're going to try to focus on revealing or cracking the password, seed, or the secret key used to hide the message. Practically all steganography programs use some type of a password to hide the message. So StegSpy may allow you to identify the program used to hide the message, okay, and identify the location of the program signature within the file. It may allow us to identify the location of the password in the file too. Sometimes that's not always encrypted, but many times it is. It'll help us identify the location of the hidden message and maybe the algorithm used to encrypt the hidden message. If we know the program that was used to hide the message, we know all the encryption techniques used to hide that message. There have been some password guessing and dictionary attacks out there. Neil Provost has done a lot of research in the area of steganography. He's done a lot of statistical analysis. And he has one program called StegBreak that allows you to go ahead and run a password attack against JSteg, which is one particular steganography program. And his program has been added to the Knoppix Penguin Sleuth Forensic CD. So you can check that out at outguess.org. He has this program out there for download. Some of his site has been shut down from Michigan state law. There's been some question over his research and legitimacy of it. And so some of his information on his site is now grayed out due to Michigan state law. So cryptanalysis and brute force methods. Okay. Trying to reverse engineer and reveal the original hidden message. Okay. Common encryption techniques. Okay. We see various types of algorithms that are based on either a secret key, a password, or sometimes a random seed that's simply hidden in clear text within the file containing the hidden message. So some of the encryption algorithms that I've seen when performing Steganalysis and Cryptanalysis, commonly, I would say almost 50% of the programs use a simple exclusive OR for supposedly encrypting the information. Other programs use stronger techniques such as DES or triple DES, IDEA, and even AES. So I have another case study here for another steganography program known as camouflage. So analyzing this again in your favorite hex editor tool, we can try to determine the password and possibly use that password to reveal the original hidden message. Okay. So doing a number of file comparisons with this, you can possibly identify where the hidden password is located. It may be encrypted. So by hiding the same message using a different password, using camouflage, I was able to find the string where this password is stored. And in hex, I have it listed as 76, F0, 09, and 56. Okay. I know the password is test, okay, which if I convert from ASCII to hex, I end up with 74, 65, 73, and 74. So knowing that probably 50% of the steganography programs out there use a simple exclusive OR, I use my favorite tool, BDH tool, okay, to go ahead and calculate this to see if I can determine the secret key used to encrypt the password. Well, what I found, okay, was some type of a key, but I need to now go ahead and hide the message again using a different password to see if I can prove my theory is correct. So I store another password or another message using a different password. Okay. The file reveals a hex code of 63, F4, 1B, and 43. I then exclusively OR this with the known key, and the result is 61, 61, 61, 61, okay, which is my password of AAAA. So I know that I've now found some type of secret key that's used to supposedly encrypt the password. So we've revealed the hidden password that was used to hide this message. And we can now use this to go ahead and reveal the hidden message. Now I can't take credit for this exploit. I did find this also on a website by a guy by the name of Will Ermitou. He's a French guy. He's done a lot of Steganalysis and Cryptanalysis as well. And he has a lot of good information on his site about different types of techniques for attacking different types of steganized files. So forensics and anti-forensics. best practices. I've kind of come up with this best practices. If you're going to use steganography to hide and or encrypt your information, okay, there's some techniques you can use, okay, including things such as using a different password than your operating system password. If you're performing forensic analysis, that may be a common technique. So if you want to avoid that type of forensic technique, use a different password. As I said earlier, sometimes when you use the steganography program, it doesn't always remove the original message. So you can actually go ahead and delete that message after you've hidden it into your carrier file. Another technique, too, that may reveal to a forensic investigator, if they find a steganography program on the desktop, it's probably a pretty sure bet that that was the steganography program used to hide the message. So it may be a good idea to remove the original steganography program you used to hide the message. You can also run the steganography program from a CD if that's possible. Or you can use another technique known as alternate data streams. Alternate data streams is something that's found in the Windows NTFS file system, okay, by which one file can be a link to multiple alternate data streams of files of any size. Okay. These alternate data streams are actually hidden within the file system, okay, and this allows for hiding of files and even directories. Okay. And it can be difficult to detect. Okay. For example, it doesn't show up if you run a dir. So I went ahead and ran Notepad and created a file. And to create this alternate data stream, I typed in mic.txt : and then the alternate data stream, mic_hidden.txt. Okay, and this allowed me to hide a message within an alternate data stream related to mic.txt. If I run a dir, you can see there's no indication of mic_hidden.txt. Although a message was saved within it, mic.txt also shows bytes of 0 bytes. I can hide multiple files within these alternate data streams. Okay? So if I save a second file to mic.txt, I can go ahead and save this second file. If I run a dir, I still don't see the file listed. Okay? There's still no indication of mic_hidden.txt or mic_hidden2.txt. So alternate data streams can be used to hide private files, viruses, Trojans, and even steganography. Okay. So a question you need to ask yourself is, okay, does your antivirus and anti-Trojan detection software analyze alternate data streams? Okay. There is a common utility known as MakeStream that can allow you to move a virus or a Trojan to a hidden alternate data stream, okay, and hide it behind an innocent text file. Okay. So in this example, if you run that against test.exe, okay, the file contents will be moved into test.exe : stream test, okay, which is an alternate data stream. And the original file contents are then overwritten with a simple message reminding you about the linked stream. So we can get any Trojan or virus that is detected by your virus or Trojan scanner and run this and see if your antivirus software actually detects this. Okay? Many of your popular antivirus software vendors out there do not scan alternate data streams. So I challenge you to go ahead and talk with your antivirus software company for your corporation and ask them, does your software allow me to scan my machines and identify alternate data streams that may be hidden on my machines? Okay? Chances are they don't. Okay? Many of the commercial scanners do not identify viruses and Trojans and even steganography hidden within an alternate data stream. So you can find more information at the website listed at the bottom of this slide. So, if you're performing forensics and discover a potentially steganized file, you can look for evidence of the steganography program on the computer using some of the techniques we've talked about already. You may leverage other operating system and application passwords on the machine, okay? And that may be the same password that was used to hide the message. There are other common forensic techniques. A lot of these are detailed in the electronic crime scene investigation book distributed by the U.S. Department of Justice. If you don't have a copy of this, ask a friend. From what I understand, there are electronic versions of these floating around too. So go ahead and take a look on the internet for this book. There are tools out there for identifying alternate data streams. Okay. In this example, I downloaded LNS from ntsecurity.nu and analyzed the directory where I hid these alternate data streams. And this did allow me to identify that these hidden files were there. There are some other tools too, LADS and also NTFS ADS check, which is offered by the company, detailed on the previous slide. So conclusions. So what is the future of Steganalysis, and really where do we go from here? Well, my program StegSpy identifies a number of different steganography programs used to hide a message within a file. Okay. This includes Hiderman, JPEG-X, Masker, Invisible Secrets, Hiderman, and a whole slew of other programs. And I am adding a lot more signatures to this program. I haven't really seen any programs that have been written to crack weak steganography, okay, but I'm sure that there may be some that'll come out. I know Grillamito on his site said he's working on something related to this. Neil Provost has written a password attack tool, but it really only attacks one particular steganography program. You may see more of these popping up in the near future. But honestly, writing this type of thing will vary quite a bit depending on the different types of steganography programs that you're trying to attack. There has been quite a bit of statistical analysis performed on this as well, okay, for detecting steganized files and hidden message content. These techniques typically use histogram analysis and least significant bit analysis and things of that nature. Neil Provost has a lot of white papers on his site that cover these types of analysis. As I said earlier, I really haven't had a whole lot of luck using those types of tools for analyzing steganized files. Coincidentally, Whetstone Technologies has a commercial software package known as StegaWatch, okay? And they were here earlier in the week offering a 2-day hands-on steganography investigator class. Anyone take that class? How was it? Good? Cool. Pardon? Oh, okay. Yeah. I've presented on steganography at some other conferences, and I had some people from NSA and DoD say that they've used this tool, and it's pretty good. From what they told me, it is pretty accurate and it is pretty comprehensive. I know it does cover a lot of steganography programs. Just keep in mind, it simply performs Steganalysis. It does not perform Cryptanalysis. So it may identify a steganized file, but I'm not aware that it'll actually crack it and reveal the original hidden message. So they do offer a steganography investigator training class. And you can find out more information about their product at Whetstone Tech. There's also StegDetect, which I mentioned earlier from Neil Provost. Okay. It's available from outguess.org. Okay. He has a Steganalysis program that allows you to detect JSteg, JP-Hide, Invisible Secrets, Outguess, F5, Appendex, and camouflage. But as I said earlier, his site is down due to the state of Michigan law questioning some of his research. I can tell you, though, that it is on the Penguin Sleuth forensic CD. So I think before they shut down his site, someone went ahead and took a copy of it and put it out there. So if you download this, if you download that image from the Linux forensic site, you can get a copy of it that way. Was it? Okay. Yeah, I was out there last night and the site is up, but certain portions of it are down. So, is it? Okay, cool. I know for a few months it wasn't, and then even though the links are crossed out, you can still click on them and now download the tool again or something. So it kind of changes from day to day. So, There are a couple good books out there. Disappearing Cryptography by Peter Weiner is actually a very, very good book, excellent book. Very, very technical, a lot of statistical analysis, but if you really dig that stuff, it's an excellent book. Eric Cole, he's another big Stego guy. Anybody been to any of Eric's presentations or classes? Yeah, Eric Cole's pretty popular. Eric Cole works for SANS. He wrote a book, Hiding in Plain Sight, which I know they have right here at the bookstore. Again, another good book. He, again, focuses on a lot of type of statistical analysis. And if you were out at Techno Security 2003, Chet Hosmer from Whetstone Technologies had a really good presentation on steganography as well. And I'm not sure, but I think you can download that from their site, but don't quote me on that. So I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes? Pardon? Right. It's really just poor coding is really what it is. Yeah. Right. For example, if you take a look at Steganos, which is a commercial tool, you'll find it extremely hard to try to identify some identifiable signature related to Steganos. But a lot of these home-crafted and freeware type tools, typically written from someone, some individual, and a lot of them have some type of identifiable signature. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard much about it either. I remember that as well. I haven't really seen much of that in the wild. I know it depends on, whether it's memory accessible or not and things of that nature. So, no, I really haven't seen much of that lately, not since that presentation. So. You mean since a signature or something's been identified, or? I have seen some weird stuff, and regardless of the type of analysis you're doing, whether it be statistical or some type of signature-based, occasionally you're going to get a false positive, and typically, that's what it is. I mean, if you identify the Stego, it identifies the program and possibly the area where the hidden message content is, you can open it up in your hex editor and analyze it and see if that reveals any kind of message. So. And usually that's what I do. And 9 times out of 10, it's some kind of a false positive. So, any other questions? Cool. Yes. Yeah, I have seen some stuff on that. I think Neil Provost wrote a white paper from that perspective. I think, you can use a variety of techniques for obviously hiding the data, and providing some type of steganography program around that. What I have found is it's really just a matter of, from that perspective, that you just haven't identified the technique used to hide the data. So. Whereas it seems like some type of blind technique, in reality, it isn't, So. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.